What's going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today we are bringing you our Week 10 match versus Ellie and the Accrington Stantler. The 8-bit Insomniac, her links will be in the description below. A good friend of mine. Also, please check out the PPL YouTube and Twitter as well. If you haven't done so already, the rest of the coaches will also be in the description as well, so check them out. D2 is wrapping to a close. However, we are going to play our Week 10 match, which is definitely the most important match of the entire season so far. If we win, we are 100% in first place for the remainder of D2, which will last this week and of course next week versus Tup. So hope you guys enjoy, because this is a very fun match. This was a very, very important match, and I really hope you guys look forward to it. Now, looking at her team, she has Crobat, Mega Scizor, Miltank, Mamoswine, Mew, and Electabuzz. And I have an entire team builder dedicated to my team. However, just for a quick rundown, we have our Spadef Infestation Toxic Reuniclus, we have our Mega Lopunny, we have our Offensive Zapdos, we have our Specs Tyranitar, we have our Choice Scarf Jellicent, and we have our Air Balloon Rocks Kabutops. So that is the team. Looking at her team, she has a couple possible leads. Could potentially lead with Mew, predicting my Mega Lopunny. Could potentially, in fact, even better, lead with Crobat, which has Inner Focus for my Mega Lopunny. Take a Fake Out, knock me out with Brave Bird, though I'm not going to do that. She could potentially lead Scizor, get a quick U-turn, but the lead I'm thinking is most likely is the Electabuzz, just because she sees on my team I do not have Nidoqueen, I don't have an Electric immunity, so she might want to lead with that. She get a free Volt Switch off, she outspeeds the majority of things on my team. So I didn't want to lead Mega Lopunny, just give her a free switch out into the Mew anyway. So that is, I determined my best lead is my Reuniclus, my answer to the Electabuzz, just because nothing super appreciates a Psychic or even a Toxic, aside from the Mega Scizor, which I don't think she'd switch directly in, risking a Hidden Power Fire. So we're going to start off the match. Ellie is going to lead with her Electabuzz, and I call that perfectly, which is awesome, and I'm going to lead with my specially defensive Reuniclus, meant to take this thing on. So she is going to go right for a Volt Switch, and as you can see, this does not do a lot of damage at all, and she reveals the Life Orb, which is great. Not Choice Scarf, my Jellicent will be able to outspeed it, my Lopunny will outspeed it, things like that. So I am going to go right for a Toxic, hoping she doesn't go out into the Mega Scizor. Even if she does, I do have a safe switch into my Zapdos, so that's exactly what I'm going to do, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Going to be able to get a Toxic off on this Mew, and she is going to get the Synchronize off on me, which is fine, because again, I am Magic Guard. Would have been nice to get it off with a Lopunny, get my Facade boosted, but totally fine regardless. So as you can see, she's going to take some Toxic damage, and I am now going to switch out into my Tyranitar. No, she's not going to go for a Low Kick or a Will-O-Wisp this turn, so I am going to go out into my Tyranitar, which can threaten everything on her team, because again, she does not have a great switch in to a Specs Dark Pulse, no Dark Resistance on her entire team, and she reveals the Skill Swap, which was so cool to see. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for her, because I did just switch out of my Tyranitar. Sand Scream does nothing for her, and Synchronize actually helps me a little bit if she wants to status me with anything else, but that was meant to take on my Reuniclus, get rid of my Magic Guard, she gets Magic Guard, and then that'd be annoying, but it is what it is. Here, she's going to go for the Toxic now, again, not wanting to be Pursuit Trapped, just going to go for the Toxic, as I am going to be able to synchronize, which is funny, but I'm going to go for the Dark Pulse, and Mew's down. Mew is down very early on in the match, and that's really, really good, because, again, Mew was just scary. I didn't know the set it was going to be. Again, she would have had trouble building with it, but I didn't know what the set was going to be, and I couldn't predict what it was, and I was able to kill it early, so that's really good. She's going to send out her Miltank, and I'm thinking, you did not bring Focus Punch, did you? You did not, no. She's going to go for the Earthquake. This is probably a specially defensive Miltank meant to take on special hitters. Earthquake's going to go off, doesn't do a ton of damage to me, does a little bit more than I'd want, because I'm not physically defensive, I'm more specially defensive, like I said earlier, but at least now I do have the free opportunity to recover up, though I'm actually not sure if I recover or just go right for a Psychic. I believe I actually just went right for a Psychic, trying to get damage on things. No, I actually Infestation, in case she tried to set up rocks. Actually, yeah. I went for Infestation in case she could try and set up rocks. Then she's trapped in. I can Toxic it, wear it down with Psychic, recover up off it. So that's really good. Also gets a little bit of damage off on the Scizor, which is nice. A little bit of chip damage. So here I can't stay in. I'm thinking she's gonna want to go for either the U-turn or the knockoff too early to set up an SD. So I'm going to go out into my Zapdos, which again, even though it is offensive, I can take any hit anyway. So she is going to go for the Mega Evolution, as she has to, of course, being a Mega Scizor. And going to go right for the knockoff, which is annoying because I'm going to lose my Yachi Berry, and that does a decent amount of damage to me. However, she's not gaining herself too much momentum with this. If she had gone for U-turn, could have gone out into her Mammoth and threatened me immediately, but now she's going to pull the switch out into her Miltank, which is going to absolutely tank this Heat Wave like it is no problem. That's definitely looking especially defensive with Thick Fat. And now I'm going to try and go for the Volt Switch, but she pulls a very good double out into her Mammoth line now, of course being immune to the Volt Switch, and now I am pretty much forced to switch out. Now again, I do have kind of a dedicated switch into this temporarily, being my Kabutops, because of course it resists the Ice attack, is immune to the Earthquake with the Air Balloon, so I'm going to go out into that. She actually just goes for a knockoff, potentially predicting my Jellicent to want to come in, but I'm able to take it, and my defense is going to fall, speed is going to rise, the weak armor is going to activate, and now I outspeed this thing 100%. She's not going to want to stay in, so this is a very good opportunity for me to want to get up my Stealth Rock. She is going to go out into her Mega Scizor now, which I cannot touch, but I am at least able to set up my rocks against, which is perfect, because now, with the rocks up, her team is going to be taking residual damage. It's very good for things like the Crobat, as well as everything else, taking it, I believe, neutrally. So I'm going to go back out into my Zapdos, as she is just going to hit me with the U-turn. Momentum is kind of even right now. I was able to get my rocks up for relatively free, but she's not got kind of that Volt turn going on, so that's going to be very annoying for me. She's got the upper hand at the moment. She's going to go out into her Electabuzz, and I don't have a great switch into this at the moment. Yes, I could go out into my Reuniclus, which is meant to take it on, but then he Volt switches on that, and then goes out into Scizor. I go out into Zapdos on the Scizor. Zapdos is getting more worn down. She goes back out into this Volt switches. There's no point in doing that, so I'm just going to sack off my Kabutops. It got rock stuff. It did what it needed to do. I have enough checks for the Mammoth line, so I'm not... I just didn't want to play that Volt turn game that she would definitely be winning. So she is going to go out into her Crobat, which gives me a relatively free switch out into my Tyranitar. We're going to see it's Black Sludge, so it's not offensive, not any random natural gift variant. So I'm going to go out into my Tyranitar, which again, she does not have great switch-ins to. So here, she is just going to use this opportunity to defog, which is totally fine, because even though rocks would have been nice for her team, she's now losing that momentum that she just had, so I'm able to hit this thing with a Dark Pulse and do massive damage. And with the Sand, with the obviously the powerful Choice Specs Dark Pulse, she is not going to be able to roost off this damage successfully, which is perfect, because I want this thing gone, because this is another one of the only checks to my Lopunny. So she's going to go for the Roost here. Trying to get a good amount of HP back. However, again, like I said, I'm doing more damage to her with Dark Pulse than she is able to recover, in addition, because of, again, the power of Dark Pulse, as well as the Sand, negating the Black Sludge. So this is a winning battle for me. It is a losing battle for her. She knows this now. So she is going to switch out into her Mega Scizor, which is something that can take a hit and then fire off a very big hit onto me. So I'm going to fire off the Dark Pulse. Specs Dark Pulse, going to do a nice chunk of damage, is definitely going to be a 2 KO. Question is whether or not I can take a Bullet Punch, or whether or not she's speedy and can hit me with a U-turn. She goes for Bullet Punch. I live with 12 HP remaining, and I am able to knock out the Scizor with another Dark Pulse, and that is absolutely perfect. Because Mega Scizor was a bit of an issue to my team, particularly for the Reuniclus. And again, I have now eliminated that Volt turn core. She now only has the Electabuzz, the Volt Switch. Which, speaking of Electabuzz, I'm going to send out my Jellicent as she sends out her Electabuzz. She thinks she can outspeed me and hit me with a Volt Switch or a Thunderbolt. But no, I am scarfed with Water Spout, and that Electabuzz is going to go straight down. And that is awesome, because Scarf Jellicent got a kill with Water Spout, which is awesome. And she's pretty much run out of switch-ins for this thing. She's running out of things for my team, which is really, really good. Electabuzz was definitely very annoying. Now I'm going to switch out into my Reuniclus. Even though I am specially defensive, I can take 2 of pretty much any hit. She's actually going to go for the Thunder Punch to try and deal damage to my Jellicent, but I am able to take that relatively well, and I can now just simply recover up off of any damage. So she's going to switch out into her Mammoth line, which is a bit of an issue, because again, I don't have great switch-ins to this. I'm going to go for the Recover. And I determined the least useful thing on my team at this point is the Zapdos. It's nice for the Crobat, but I have other things for the Crobat, being my full health Reuniclus, being a couple other things, so I don't need it as much. She's going to go right for the knockoff, which I can take because my item was knocked off earlier, and I'm like, alright, I can die to an Ice Shard, but she actually switches out. And judging by the calcs, I thought it might have been banded with knockoff. I wasn't entirely sure, but I thought maybe banded at the time. It wasn't scarfed, I don't think. But anyway, I'm going to hit this with an HP Grass and then a Volt Switch. Not going to do a lot of damage, again, revealing that it is specially defensive. But this is fine because I can go back out into my Reuniclus and pretty much just start firing off Psychics. There's not too much that she can do in order to prevent me from doing so. Nothing really wants to come in on it. Not Mammoth's-Line, obviously not Crobat. So here I am going to make the what I consider to be the smarter play. Actually, do I do that now or do I do that after? Yeah, I'm just going to go right for a Psychic now. Get some good damage off on this Miltank, as it does do a pretty solid chunk of damage, as I am now going to try and recover up some of my HP. Just because I would like this kind of healthy. At full health, I can take pretty much any hit from the Mammoth's-Line, not a banded knockoff, but just about anything else. And I can also, of course, take a hit from the Crobat and knock that out. So I'm going to just play the recover stall game for a couple of turns. Not really stall, just hit recover a couple times and make sure I'm at the max amount of HP I can get at, as she does not want to switch out. So I'm going to be able to get this thing back up to full HP in combination with the recover and leftovers. So that's really good for me. At this point, I can now just click Psychic, will knock this thing out, and will hit anything else that comes in pretty hard. So she's going to go for another Body Slam, trying to get some damage off onto me, as I can just click Psychic and knock out the Miltank, which is great. So we are now up 4-2, and things are really looking good. She only has a very weakened Crobat left, as well as that Mammoth's-Line. So she is now going to go out into that Crobat, and I could have recovered here, predicting the Brave Bird, but I didn't want her to go for like a U-turn or something, and then get a free switch out in a Mammoth's-Line and do things that way. So I just go for the attack. It's not going to matter too much. She's going to go for the Brave Bird, knock herself out as I Psychic. So I'm now at about 50%, a little bit under 50%, up 4-1. All she has left is this Mammoth's-Line. Mammoth's-Line's still a pretty big threat, but I'm not entirely sure on what item is yet. Again, still thinking banned at this point. So I'm like, alright, she locks herself in a knockoff. Perfect. I can go out into my Mega Lopunny, and again, I didn't know this thing's item 100%, so I could have just gone for a high jump kick, knocked it out, or bring it down to a potential Focus Sash. But I looked at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is, even though it'd be nice to get Lopunny's differential up, even though it would be nice for me to win with a higher differential or whatever, my best play is to just break this thing's Sash with a Facade, as well as if she is a sub variant for whatever reason. I believe she's brought it before, or if she's even like a Curse variant, let me go for the Facade, get damage off on it. If she has sub and I miss a high jump kick, that's really bad for me. As strange as that sounds, and as rare as that would probably be, it's definitely a possibility. So I am just going to go right for the Facade. Don't have Fake Out on this thing, like I said. It's going to go right for the Facade, deal about 50%, as she's going to hit me with an Earthquake. So okay, it's not choice banded. More than likely Sash at this point, obviously it's not Life Orb. I'm going to go for another Facade. I'm like, alright, Lopunny, sorry that you have to go another game without a kill, but she actually overpredicts and goes for knockoff. She was hoping that I would choke, because that's the only way she could potentially win at this point. However, I do not switch out, and she actually does not have Ice Shard on this Mammoth's-Line, so I can click Facade once again, knock out the Mammoth's-Line, and confirm my Division 2 championship for the season. And that's it. We did it. We are now number 1 in Division 2. Nobody can take our spot. And we move on to 10-0 with 1 week to go versus Old Man Tup. So we're 1 win away from being undefeated for the season. And this is awesome. I'll probably mention like more in detail and like a recap at the end of the season, like a team recap or whatever, but it took a season longer than we wanted to, but we are now on top. We are moving to D1 next season, even though we did with the conclusion of our match against Colton, and that feels really good. We have beaten so far every single person in our division aside from Old Man Tup, who we hopefully look to defeat next week. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That was a very good game, Ellie. it was the momentum early game was shifting back and forth between me and her, but once I was able to take out her Electabuzz with my Jellicent, it was the momentum permanently shifted in my favor, and I just went from there. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys are looking forward to the last week of the PPL. That'll be happening, of course, next week. Match should be uploaded on Wednesday versus Old Man Tup of the Pittsburgh Piratas. So again, thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for your support throughout the season, and we'll see you next week.